when I stepped out of my place and I would fill the hole, so God wouldn't fill the provision because I was, you know what I mean?
Meeting the need yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why it's invaluable to be able to be like, you know what, these are the things that I need to do.
Right.
And those are the things that are not how I should be spending my energy.
Hey, welcome to Storypower TV. I'm your host, Loren Norris, and I'm so excited to be here. You know, you might notice this is not my normal studio. It's not, because I'm at Grace Point Studios in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're in the process of moving. So we kind of got the small studio in the corner while they're packing up all the stuff to go to their big 35,000-foot studio. It's not mine, it's theirs, but I love it, and I love the opportunity to be here. So we're here with the Master the Stage and Accelerator students. These are some of the best speakers. They've been through the training, the stage training, the theatrics training, the storytelling training, the communications training, their online marketing training. And so we have a chance to sit behind scenes and talk with each one of these kingdom builders, kingdom speakers who are building a platform within their own arena, their own area of expertise and specialty. And our first guest today is Heather Garceau. So please help me welcome our guest, Heather Garceau. Thank you for being here, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
So everybody that comes on this show has to answer the same question first. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You know what the question is?
I don't.
Oh, good. It'll be more fun. Who is Jesus to you?
That is a complex question because he is so many things. I mean, he is a savior, he is a friend, he is, a role model. He's a pivotal point of my life and has been since my childhood. So I think that if I had to narrow it down to one, though, I think the fact that he is our Savior is the most important because what he gave and what he did for us is life-changing. A large portion of, what I believe and what I teach other people is to find their root self, like their purpose of why they were put on this planet. And Jesus' role in that is pivotal because we all fell in humanity. I mean, all of humanity fell, I should say, when Adam and Eve made it one simple choice.
Right.
But Jesus redeemed all of that. And I think that people, they know that and they're like, yes, Jesus saved us. But they don't spend enough time really thinking about what that means because in the act of dying, he completely reset everything. And we should now be striving to what we would have originally been before sin. We should be building the world around us in that light. We should be trying to reach our full potential in the light of who we would have been if sin never entered the world. And that's the goal. So the fact that he's a savior is amazing.
So the next question, same follow-on question for everybody. Why should I care who Jesus is to you?
I think because Jesus is so, like I said before, it's such a complex question and he's so many things that when you hear people talk about who Jesus is to them, it's always an eye-opening revelation into another side of him that you may or may not be acquainted with. It's like when you ask a friend about another friend, or you ask a friend about like a business that you've had experience with, but you don't know everything about. You always hear a different angle and a different perspective, which opens your eyes up to it. And, he is the Almighty God. So in humanity, we'll never really fully understand all of it until we get there, which is why we're built together as a body so that we can, grow together and learn from other people's perspectives, experiences, and knowledge.
Yeah, toes and teeth are not the same.
They're not.
But they're part of the same body.
Amen.
And it's really, when you listen to somebody explain who Jesus is to them, it's not like hearing somebody say, well, here's what broccoli is, or here's what Brussels sprouts are. Like them or don't like them, that might be the first determining factor. But beyond that, the description is pretty much the same. It's a little round green thing, or it looks like a tiny tree. And then you're pretty much done. Mm-hmm. That's not the same with Christ. It's a different facet in every relationship and every person. Exactly. Now, I understand that you are a mom, a business owner, successful entrepreneur. You've launched several. You've been in sales and business. But I believe I heard you say something about even with all the things that you've achieved and accomplished, sometimes you just reach that place of just sheer boredom.
Yes.
Why is that the case? Is that you, or is that everybody given a certain set of circumstances?
I think that anybody not operating in their full potential and in areas that they are both skilled and passionate about finds themselves in a place of boredom. Things can be shiny and new and exciting for a while, but that wears off, and then they're still left with that same, there's something more to life. There's something more than this.
Right.
So I really had that stop happening once I found out how I was wired and really spent time investigating that and diving into it. What my strengths were combined with what I like, what I was skilled in, and what I was passionate about. When I brought all of those together, every day's a new day now. Everything's exciting,
right.
Because that's what God planted in us when he formed us in our mother's womb. And until you reach that point and until you're thriving in those areas, you're always going to feel like it's okay, but it's not. This isn't it.
So when you began to find that thing, was that a walking out journey that, see how I want to say this. There's a way that Heather deals with Heather's mom, a way that Heather deals with Heather's daughter, a way that Heather deals with Heather's friends or boss or company or business. Is it possible that this pathway that you found to get past the boredom and into the joy and the passion of moving forward is purely Heather? Or is it something that you think that model, that process could be laid over somebody else and they go, I get it. Now I know why I love this and hate that, or whatever else. Is it a duplicable process from person to person?
Definitely. What I've spent a significant amount of time doing is making it into a model that will help save people time. It took me a while to get here. And part of that, I think, is God's plan. Because when things come easy for you, it's really hard for you to teach somebody else something. When you struggle with something and you have to learn your way through it and you have to, kind of wrestle with it, it's much easier for you to be like, well, this worked and that didn't, and this was a high and this was a low, and make that into a model or a system that you can teach somebody else to save them time. Everybody should be looking for champions in their life to make things easier and to strengthen them. And you learn, this from one person and something else for another, and that's how you find your own path into what you have.
So like the difference between having a mentor who's been down that road before, who can kind of point things out, versus trying to figure it out on your own.
Right.
I heard Dr. Caroline Leaf say one time, she said, if there's something in your life that every time you do it, you're like, wow, that's just so easy. And people stand back and look at you amazed. They're like, how do you even do that? Some people can roll their tongue and others can't roll their tongue no matter how hard they try. She said, when you find that thing that you can do and it's so easy for you and everybody else is just baffled by how well you do it with such ease, that's your gift. That's your God-given gift. And probably a handful of people on earth actually have that same gift. Has that been your experience as well?
I think that my gifts helped me in my journey, but I think that the struggles helped me to be able to to teach the journey. So I'm going to steal somebody else's story here for a second to illustrate my point. They were talking about how they were just naturally good at baseball. Like when they were in high school, it just came easy for them no matter what. They were all-star all the time. They were having a fantastic season. And their team had this thing where it's like somebody got to be coach for a day. And he didn't get it. And he was really disappointed about it because he felt like he earned it because he's the best one on the team. So he went and talked to his coach, and he's like, how come I didn't get coach for the day? Like, you made some kind of mistake here. And his coach looked at him and said, it comes so easily for you. How would you ever teach anybody how to do it? He's like, you've never even thought about it. So he picked somebody who had struggled, because no matter what that person, does, like they had to work for everything. They've heard all of the coaching, all of the stuff. No matter who they run into that day and what they have to work on, he's going to know the skills to teach them instead of you trying to figure it out because you just do it. Right. So I have natural gifts, and I know this about myself, in both business and psychology. particularly in this one, the psychology has really helped me. It's just how my mind works. And I leaned into those strengths in my life and got training in those that, helped develop them even
Right.
more. But those two perspectives really helped me to be able to make things teachable. You know what I mean? So it's not like my gift wasn't naturally knowing what my ultimate purpose was and what would make me passionate. That was the struggle. But the gifts that I have helped me to be able to make that into something that I can then teach other people. Because
Right.
God gives us what we need along with the journey that He has for each and every one of us.
But I think I've heard you say something about that. Our it's not just the education level, because a lot of people have a degree in psychology, maybe advanced degrees, even PhDs in psychology. But there are people who have PhDs in psychology who have also had a very cushioned life. Everything's been protected. They've never had a crisis. Nothing's ever gone wrong. No abuse or trauma or divorce or anything like that in their life. And so their understanding is purely academic. But if you take that academic lens and put it over the experiences of someone who says, I know trauma, I know divorce, I know abuse, I know loss at a great level, that changes the paradigm of what you've been academically taught.
Exactly. One of the most moving stories I've ever heard in my entire life what happened during 9/11. It was somebody who was on the ground floor, like in the buildings when they fell. And I don't remember how he had a flashlight, but he had a flashlight. He was in the situation, and he yelled out to everybody, if you can see my light, follow me. And he led the people out of the building, and it tears me up every time, because that's how much it made an impact on me. And so, side note, when something has that much of an emotional connection on you, the chances are it's related to your passion. It's related to your
Right.
purpose. So, but what always got me about this story is he was in the building with them. He wasn't a rescuer that came in. And if he wasn't in the situation with them, how would he have ever let them out?
Right.
So, and I think that there's a lot of things like that where you have to be in the experience. You have to know what it feels like. You have to be, to be able to navigate the things and then yell out to people, follow me.
And so there's a couple of metaphors in that. Obviously, I am the light, the truth, the light, and the way.
Right.
Walk this way. This is the way. Walk ye in it. All of those are metaphors of Christ in the life of the lost and the life of the believer. But I think another thing that I hear you say in that really kind of goes back to myself, and that is, I've been doing this, I'll hear your story and tell it back to you for almost 20 years now.
And you're amazing at it.
Thank you. But there was a time that people would say, just tell me my story, let me record it, I'll write it and script it. And it took me a couple of years before I said, no, I want you to do that. You're welcome to record it. You're welcome to retell it just like I did, because I'm telling your story. But more than that, I want you to learn that if you get out of the car and trip over a Coke bottle, there's a new story there. What's the relevance? Who's the audience? How does it work? How does it pan out? And for probably the first 4 or 5 years, I didn't think, because I know that's a natural gift, I didn't think there was a way to teach that to other people. And so when I really started digging deeper into communication training through John Maxwell and Dale Carnegie and these others, what I realized is there's a gift, but when you realize what your gifts and talents are and realize that gives you a huge advantage, but it's not enough by itself. You've got to take that and add to it and add to it and add to it. And what John Maxwell says is your talent is not enough, but it'll get you in the door. Mm-hmm. Now you've got to add discipline to the talent so that it becomes a skill set.
Develop it.
And you've got to develop that. And then he also talks about strengths and weaknesses. And he said, if you focus on your weaknesses, you can barely move the needle from a 4 to a 5. If you focus on your strengths, you can move a 6 to a 7. You're still just above average. But if you find that thing that you're already an 8 or a 9 at, and you push that as hard as you can, now you're a 10 or an 11. And 11 is the Michael Jordan of basketball, the Tiger Woods of golf. So whatever your thing is, you're not above average anymore. You're one of the best in the world. And finding that thing is what you do. You help people find that thing in their life where the joy and the passion all come together, and you can build a plan to go, here's how I'm going to be the best in the world at this.
Yes. I mean, if I can add to that, I think one of the things that makes you so valuable in your storytelling coaching is when you give the story back to the person, you are really speaking it from a voice of encouragement. Like, you're not just rewording it. You're allowing the person to see their story from a place of victory, from a place of strength. Like, you paint a totally different totally different picture of who that person is, and then you hand it back to them. And that in itself is empowering. So when the people, I mean, they don't need to write it down word for word, like you're saying, but just having that glimpse, it's like, it's a gift that you have of like allowing people to see how, like, kind of how their father sees them. It's a very fatherly gift that you have, that you can like speak into people's lives, and that is priceless.
When I dawned on, and it was a revelation, it was an epiphany, if you will, the idea that you got to tell a better story better. I realized there were a lot of people who were taking stories that they'd heard from somebody else. It was an analogy, it was a metaphor, it was somebody else's anecdote or experience. And I've heard people talk about the guide versus the hero. I've heard people talk about telling an original story or telling a story that has the epiphany bridge, et cetera, et cetera. I don't disagree with any of those, but here's what I found, and that's exactly what you've said. It's one thing to be in the building with them and say, I know your pain, I experience your pain. That's a different thing than being outside the building, calling them out of their pain. Mm-hmm. One is a sojourner, and the other is a hero or a rescuer. But the one anybody wants more than that is the one who said, I've been in the pain where you are, and I know the way out. Exactly. I mean, I can shine a flashlight, and you can come find me in the basement, and we can stay here together, yay. Mm-hmm. But there are a whole lot of people that do that. They talk about the trauma they lived through or the experiences they've had, and their story leaves them there.
Exactly.
And they don't lead anybody else out. Mm-hmm. Then there are those who stand outside of the problem. They're like, well, I've never had the problem you have, so my solution is not good for you, but it's a solution. And that's why I ask, is what Heather offers a Heather solution or an everybody solution? Because those are massively different.
Yeah, no, I really think it is an everybody solution, because I think that, well, let me say this. I think that a lot of people, when they think of somebody who isn't operating in their purpose or their passion or doesn't know what they want to do, they're thinking of somebody who is just completely lost and floundering, and they're like, like working at a McDonald's or something. They have no idea what they're doing. I mean, that isn't the story for everybody. I was successful in everything I did. I had 4 college degrees. I was promoted in every job that I had. I had several successful businesses. But what I had was a deep-rooted boredom and pain and emptiness. And I know the Christian go-to is, well, if you have emptiness, you need Jesus. I had Jesus. Right. I had Jesus. And I was fully saved in all of those things, but I wasn't walking in what he called me to walk in. Right. So it was still, I imagine that's how Moses felt when he was in the desert. Right? Because he was passionate enough about saving the Israelites that he had killed the Egyptian, and then he went out and was sitting out there, I'm sure, being like, well, these are sheep and this is great, and I have a new wife and a new family now, and I love them very much, but like there had to be that longing in him. Yeah. And I think that that's true of all of us, is that, we're not unsuccessful, but there's still, that there's something more that you're supposed to be doing. And that's what I want to help pull out of people. That's building the kingdom. Like we're all set here not just to be, ho-humming through our life, and not just to have a mansion, and not just to go on vacations and all of those things. I mean, they're nice. Everybody likes those things. But unless you're fulfilling the thing and that God put in you, and you're helping build the kingdom, it's our responsibility to be turning this earth as much to like heaven, and much to like that original Garden of Eden as we possibly can. And if you're living short of that, I believe you're always going to have a longing in you.
You think there was ever a time when Moses was wandering around that same mountain in the desert, watching the children of Israel, that he was looking at God going, can I just have my sheep back? I know they're stupid, but they're not that stupid. I mean, at some point he had to think, what is wrong with them? Why can't we just get on with it? It's the same circle.
I mean, totally, because he smashed the tablets, right? He struck the rock when he was supposed to speak to the rock. I mean, there was definitely frustration there. But he also contended several times that God not wipe them out, not kill them. And there was even a point where God was like, I'm just going to start over with you. Like, forget all of them. I'm going to start over with you. And I believe that God did that knowing exactly who Moses was. Like, he knew that he was going to stand in the gap for them and say, no, you can't do that. That's not you. That's not how this works. You know, so as much as he had his moments of frustration, he was the right man for the job.
I've many times in my life said I feel like, you know, the big Budweiser horses, the Clydesdales. I feel like a Clydesdale at a kid's pony ride. And I'm bigger than the little circle that I'm walking in. I'm like, really, God, can I just run? I could drag this whole thing down the road with the kids on it. It wouldn't bother me at all. Just let me go, let me run. And he's like, nope, this is discipline. This is obedient obscurity. Mm-hmm. Keep walking in this circle. Keep feeding those sheep. Keep staying in that desert. Keep listening to the burning bush until I tell you otherwise. And so sometimes that boredom is God's way of humbling us. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that boredom is God's way of training us to say, I want you to hear my voice when I whisper. I want you to hear my voice when I speak to you in code. I want you to hear my voice when it makes no sense at all. And I tell you, all right, hold up the stick. Yeah, because water obeys sticks. What is wrong with you, right? But I need you to be to the point that when I say it, you don't question it. It's not an argument. It's not a debate. You got to trust me because I'm doing things in a way that nobody else is going to understand. And if you're not willing to surrender to that in the little sheepy things, then you're never going to surrender that in the Red Sea things. Yeah,
you never want your gifts to surpass your character. Like, it's just a recipe for danger. It's you know, it's how leaders fall. Like right. God always puts us in situations, that are uncomfortable to help us develop those. But there's always, if you know how to look for them, and like that's one of the main things that I like to teach, is in the season that you're in, it may not be ideal. And I know you've heard me say several times, it is not a destination. Like, there is not a supreme destination. Yeah. It is a journey. And in every step of your journey, there will be things, though, that are lighting your fire. And if you learn to lean into your strengths instead of, trying to... Let me give this example. One of the businesses that I owned, looking back on it, I was still trying to figure out what I was good at and what I wasn't good at. And because I owned the business, I would just shove myself in whatever hole I needed at the time.
Right.
And if I would have known more about who I was and how I was built at the time, I could have focused my time and energy better in that season and then hired the holes that I didn't, or let them sit empty until God brought the provision that he's promised to do. But when I stepped out of my place and I would fill the hole, so God wouldn't fill the provision because I was, you know what I mean?
Meeting the need yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why it's invaluable to be able to be like, you know what, these are the things that I need to do. Right. And those are the things that are not how I should be spending my energy. And no matter what stage of life that you're in, if you learn how to do that well, you will have less boredom and less frustration.
Yeah. Well, and I love the way John Maxwell says, if you're talking about a weakness of skill set, work on it a little bit and then delegate it as fast as you can. Yep. If you're talking about a weakness of character, stop everything else until you fix it. And that's a challenge for a lot of people because they want to delegate their weakness of character and then diversify their weakness of skills. Mm-hmm. So I can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and rather than focusing on this and paying somebody to do that better, which is another weakness of character in my opinion, because what it really means is when you're not willing to delegate, you're not willing to meet the need of somebody else.
Right.
Because there are times that somebody looks up and they're like, well, I see you struggling to do X. I do X really, really well in my sleep, and I'd be glad to do it for you. And what we're saying when we say, well, I've got to figure it out on my own, is I'm not going to let you serve me. I'm not going to meet your need to be needed.
And you're going to steal their blessing.
Steal their blessing, steal their opportunity, and in a lot of places, steal their area to grow. Mm-hmm. True story, we recently had a guy in studio. We ran into him in church. He showed up in the sound booth, running camera for us, wanted to learn how to run the soundboard. And soundboards are soundboards. They all have different features and functions, but generally speaking, sound in, sound out, not that complicated, right? I've been doing it for years. And so he's sitting next to me, he's learning the soundboard, and then he says to me, yeah, I used to run a recording studio. And I'm like, well, then you know this whole thing. He's like, well, I don't know this particular device, but I do know the process really well, and I play drums. And I went, hold up, you do what? He said, I play drums. So I called the worship pastor over, I'm like, he plays drums. And so we took him to lunch, and we all sat down and chatted. We had a long conversation over lunch, and he tried out for drums, and he told me the day he tried out, he said, I was so nervous. He said, I was about to throw up. I was so nervous. I'm like, you know how to play drums. And there was only 4 people in the room. Me on the soundboard, the worship pastor on guitar, and my wife, and your wife. Why would you be nervous? He's like, because
There will be times in our lives when the gospel doesn't get 45 minutes. The theological treatise is out the door. The explanation of the Romans road, too much for the moment. I still believe the best testimony in the history of time is 6 words. I was blind, now I see. What more is there?
after he got up and played drums and was accepted on the team, played several weeks. Of course, I run sound a little different than everybody else does, so it doesn't sound like an Episcopal church. It sounds like a rock band. And we had him in studio with his wife. And when I mentioned him playing drums and being nervous, I looked his wife in the eyes. They've only been married a year. They got a brand new baby. So brand new marriage, brand new baby, brand new faith. And they were both addicts before. They used to share their time together doing illicit drugs. And she said, when I started getting the Bible, I just prayed and prayed and prayed that he would actually find a place to fit in the church, not just a chair in the back.
Amen.
And nobody knew that. Nobody had that conversation. But God made sure to put that kid in the right place at the right time so that when he got a chance to play the drums, there was a purpose for him to come to church. It lights him up. You see his passion. He walks in on the days that he's going to be in the drum kit, and you can just see him bubbling before he gets out of the car. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's making a space for somebody else to live out the gift God's put in them.
Exactly.
And not trying to fill that role yourself for some reason of incompetence or a feeling of not accomplishing, or unfortunately many times boredom, right? We do it out of boredom. We're like, oh, I can do that myself.
Well,
and
and
we
lack of
rob somebody
faith.
else the opportunity. Say that again.
It's a lack of faith, because why I would feel the need myself when I actually spent some time soul searching it and meditating on it was I wasn't truly, in my heart of hearts, believing that God was going to provide what I needed.
Wow.
So
You
I
didn't
just
trust him to do his job.
stepped in and did it myself, and it caused me more pain and sorrow than I probably would like to admit. But it was a learning lesson, and it's part of the journey that I was on to get to where I am today and to learn the skills that I had. Because, failing teaches you a lot more than victory, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's nice to know you're in the same pain with people who are experiencing that pain. Mm-hmm. It's nice to know that you found a way out. It's also nice to know that you're willing to go back to the pain and draw out those who are still in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Heather, I really appreciate you taking time to be with us. How can people find you? How can they connect with you if they need the kind of help that you're offering? Can they send you an email?
yes, they can send me an email at Heather, B as in boy, Garceau, which is GARCEAU @gmail.com.
There you go. That's a safe enough email. Thanks
Right.
again for your time,
Thank you.
Heather. Listen, if you have found yourself as a leader in that place where you're doing all of the jobs yourself, every little thing that has to be done, you touch it. It may be like me because it's a budget thing and you're still trying to work that part out, but God will provide for that. You've got to have faith for that. Maybe that's where I struggle, is in the faith part. But if you're doing it because your ego doesn't let anybody else do it as good as you, maybe you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And if you're still asking the question, who is Jesus to me? Let me give you a dare. I dare you to just cry out to God some night all by yourself. Use any language you want to. He's a big boy. You're not going to hurt his feelings. And just say, do you really love me? You may be shocked at the answer that he gives you. You may be shocked that he answers you. But I promise you that he will. That's not my promise. That's his. I'm Loren Norris with Storypower TV, for Tell It Like It Is. Have a blessed day.
Everything about this event has just changed me to push into my purpose.
The transformation has been miraculous.
You don't have time. People are dying. They are dying spiritually. They are dying physically. They are wrecked emotionally. We don't have time.
I went from broken and unworthiness, feeling completely extraordinary and ready to move into my season.
Every single time I come to this conference, the Holy Spirit shows up and flips my world upside down. This is a place where we get to rise up, where we get to be better husbands, where we get to be better fathers.
I'm completely changed. The woman I was 7 months ago is not the woman I am today.
It's time for you guys to step across the threshold. This is your call right now. It's not 37 years from now.
So let me explain to you what salvation is. Healing, deliverance, prosperity, righteousness. Until you know you're as righteous as God, you're going to continuously try to get what you've already got.
And if you're a man and you think this is just for women, you need to rethink that. A lot of us men are like lone rangers, so we think we can do it all on our own, but really that's not how God designed us. And we thrive when we're in relationship and with other men.
I am no longer confused about God loving me and calling me to higher.
But you don't know, I failed 7 times. Well, baby, let's go for number 8. Fail quicker next time, okay? Because if we fail quicker, we can do the thing that don't work. The quicker we get to the thing that works. Somebody talk to me today.
Are you okay with being in the same place you are right now? Do you want to move forward in your life? Do you want your life to change? Then you have to do something to change it.
And I think that we are well on our way to creating this revolution, if you would, this movement, this revival.
I get to take that and have that power to go home and be with my kids and my husband and to be unwavered with who I'm called to be and the royalty that I get to live into.
And I just want to do so much more now without any fear.
Because every one of you individually is a weapon. And our job equipping the saints, what God has called Summer to do, is to prepare you to go out there like a laser.
You fight for this. You fight for this. Because God rarely calls the qualified, but He qualifies the call.
Someone like Summer who believes do not go where the path may lead, go where there's no path and leave a trail, because you're in alignment with someone who masters what she does, and she's committed herself to helping you to master your voice and your story and reminding you that that story that you're sitting on, somebody is waiting on.
Because this is where we get to be lit up to go and change the world.
If you have a hunger, you have a hunger, and you have a hunger, and you're like, yes, I just want God to touch me. It's why I came here. I don't want to leave without it. I want to go out in the world so filled up with Jesus that if it unzip me, Jesus is just going to pop out. I'm ready. I'm ready. My soul and my spirit and my mind are strong. And I want to go out in the world, and I want to be a bold, unstoppable force for God.
Taking Jay Loren's Storypower Masterclass. It was amazing. I took away so much information. One of the things that I really enjoyed being formally trained in media many, many years ago is the call to action. I will use that with every speaking engagement, and I'm so grateful that Loren just spoke truth into his teachings, and he is a true professional. And I know this might sound weird, but I've been taking certifications in different classes over the years, and Loren is not boring. I can't even believe I got here at 9, and then the class went by so fast that I was like, it's time to go already? And I was shocked that it was time to go already. So it's an awesome class. You're going to enjoy it, I promise.